What's going on, YouTube? Mr. Wheels here, bringing you another episode of Sports Talk and part 3 of the preseason preview of the NHL preseason preview, And tonight it's the Metropolitan division that I'm previewing. So let's start with the Carolina Hurricanes. They shouldn't have any problems in net. They've got Cam Ward and they got Anton Khudobin in the offseason. So Cam Ward needs to bounce back and basically reclaim his starting job. But Khudobin can easily take that job from him. I could see that happening. Now, as for the new additions, they have Aaron. I'm going to try to pronounce this right. Aaron Paleshkaha or something like that. Anyway, he was in New Jersey. I believe he was traded there. I know I didn't pronounce his last name right, but anyway. They also picked up Mike Komisarek and Andre Sekera and Nathan Gerbing. I don't think these guys are really going to have that much of an impact, but they should help out the team a little bit. Now, the keys to success that I see for this team is their top line. Eric Stahl, Alexander Semin, and Jeff Skinner. They're going to have to carry the weight in terms of scoring, and obviously the strength of the team is the top line. They got solid top six forwards and a lot of veteran leadership. However, I don't think their defense is going to be good enough, and I think they have an inexperienced bottom six forwards. So this is going to result in lack of scoring and just all-around depth if they have injury problems. They could be a bubble team, but they probably won't make the playoffs. Moving on to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Sergei Bobrovsky needs to have another Vezina like season. He won the Vezina Trophy last year. He needs to put up some more numbers. He had a 2.0 goals against average with a .932 save percentage. He needs to have definitely a similar goals against, and possibly, if he can do it, even a better save percentage, because I think the main thing with the Columbus Blue Jackets is, can they be consistent for an entire season? And I'll get to that in a minute. Their strengths, their keys to success are going to have to be the top line. I see it as being Artur Anisimov, Marian Gaborik, and Nathan Horton is who's probably going to be on their top line. Their strengths are obviously, like I said, they have Sergei Bobrovsky just coming off a Vezina Trophy, and more than capable top line. Probably the best at the center position. I'll just let you know who their centers are. Probably going to be in their line. I mean, these are regular guys going to be in the lineup. Artur Anisimov, Brandon Dubinsky, Ryan Johansson, and Mark Letestu are probably going to be their four centers. They have a solid top four defense with Eric Johnson and Fedor Tutin, Adrian Aucoin, and Tim Exrod, I think is how you say that. I think they're solid anyway. You may disagree with me. Tell me if you do. I think Columbus could definitely contend for a playoff spot this year. But like I already said, that will depend on their consistency. Can they keep up their consistency and play well for an 82-game season? Can Sergei Bobrovsky shut the door, for them, longer in a longer season? Last year was a sprint. And I think that they have some inexperienced prospects that are going to need some time to develop, and they may need to play they may see a lot of playing time this year, so that's going to affect their playoff spot. But other than that, I don't see why Columbus couldn't compete for a playoff spot and possibly make the playoffs. Moving on to New Jersey. Right off the bat, you got to ask yourself, how much does Martin Brodeur have left? And, that even really doesn't matter because they have Corey Snyder now. And he can easily take the number one job. Actually, I expect him to, because Brodeur is coming off a season where he had a lot of injuries, and Schneider wanted to be the number one goalie in Vancouver. It didn't happen, and so they shouldn't have a problem in goal. But I expect Schneider to be the number one by the end of the season. And the bigger question I find with New Jersey is, how are they going to adapt to the loss of their point-a-game player, Ilya Kovalchuk? And if you want to know more about the Kovalchuk situation, I did a video. My very first video was on the day he retired. Please check it out. I think there was a lot of good information about the situation at that time in the video. Their keys, New Jersey, their keys to offense are going to need to be that they're going to need to score right through from their top forward and their top line to right down to their 12th forward. They're going to need to score by committee, and even though they lost Kovalchuk, they did pick up Michael Ryder, Jaromir Jagr, Damian Brunner, and Ryan Crow. And that's what I mean by score by committee. All those guys are going to have the chip in a big way to fill that gap of losing Kovalchuk. So obviously the strength of the team is they do have solid goaltending. They should have enough offense, and mainly, what's going to save them is the Devils are known for their style of play. They created that trap system in the 90s, and they can steal a lot of one-goal games, and they're probably going to have to, even though they picked up, 3 or 4 capable players that can score in the absence of Kovalchuk. I think the guys that I already mentioned, those guys together are going to make up what Kovalchuk could have probably done on his own. And as for their weaknesses, I see possibly their defense, not their top 4 guys, but rounding out the top 6 forwards, they have a little bit of inexperience. So that may be a weakness, and mainly just if they can stay healthy. I see injuries. This team's getting older. I see injuries playing a big role, and the Devils are another team that have a lot of prospects that need some time to develop, and I think that might hinder their where they end up. But that being said, they can, and I expect them to contend for a cup, mainly because of their goaltending. We'll see how that can hold up. Now, out to Long Island. The Islanders have, I see them having a lot of question marks in goal. I'm not sold on Evgeny Nabokov, because I don't see him. I don't think he's a very consistent goalie. Even when he was in San Jose, he was younger. He still struggled with consistency, and it was mainly in the playoffs with the Sharks were known for that. And later in Nabokov's career, he's just struggled. I think he's just struggled all around. And you got to ask yourself, if Nabokov has the potential to struggle, is Rick DiPietro going to bounce back from being buried in the minors? I still think DiPietro is a capable goalie, but he's obviously got some issues, so we'll see if he can bounce back and help him out. Now, the Islanders really didn't add too many players. Cal Clutterbuck and Peter Regan are the most notable players that they added. It'll add them some toughness from Clutterbuck and maybe some depth scoring from Peter Regan. Their top line, like Tavares and Matt Molson, and I don't know who's going to be on the other wing, but Michael Grabner is who it'll probably be. Those guys are going to have to carry the team, and they're going to have. This is another team that's going to have to score by committee. The strengths of this team that I see are not many, but they have a lot. The one thing that I would say is this team has a lot of talent and a lot of offensive capability. But I think they're going to be that's going to be downplayed a little bit by their defense. Other than Lumamir Visnovsky, I don't really see them having any real veteran D-men. I mean, they have Travis Hamonic, but I still consider him a bit of a prospect. And they have some other guys, but they haven't really done very much. And obviously their goaltending is always going to be an issue, I think. So I don't really see them making the playoffs. I think they made the playoffs last year because it was a shortened season and it was a sprint. And in a long marathon type of situation, the Islanders just won't make it. Now, moving to Manhattan, the Rangers are night and day from the Islanders. I don't really see them having any problems in net because of King Henrik. And they did add some. Add some players in the offseason. Most notably, Roman Hamrlik, Justin Falk, and Benoit Pouliot. Again, these guys aren't really going to help about much, I don't think. But Hamrlik's got experience, so that should help. They're already good defense. I think the bigger question in New York is how is Yvan Vigneault gonna go from coaching a very offensive-minded team in Vancouver to going and coaching a team like New York that is going to be more blue collar. Like, they have a good top line in Richards, Nash, and Callahan, but after those three guys, I think they're really going to struggle to score goals, and they're going to have to steal a lot of one-goal games. Very similar to the New Jersey Devils. So I wonder how Vigneault's system is really going to fit in New York. So their strengths are, like I already said, their top line, which is the case with a lot of teams. They have a very solid defense, I find. I like their defense mainly because they're going to be a tough team to play against. And I already mentioned it. They have a solid goalie in King Henrik, and Martin Biron. He's capable. He's a capable backup. So they really shouldn't have any problems there. Their weaknesses I see being depth scoring. I think they're really going to miss the depth at center of Anisimov and Dubinsky, and I find that they have a lack of forward depth. They have a lot of depth on defense, but it's not the same situation on offense. So I have them I have a question mark beside the playoffs for this team because it could really go either way. They can surprise a lot of people and make it into the playoffs, or not. Okay, moving on to Philly. This is another team in the NHL that I find has really questionable goaltending. They picked up Ray Emery from Chicago in the offseason. He's got injury problems, hip problems and stuff, so I don't think he can really be a number one, and he's not there to be a number one, but Steve Mason to me is unproven. And they have some new additions. Obviously, Vincent Lecavalier is the big signing, along with Mark Streit and they also signed, or they also added Kurt Huskins and Curtis Foster, I do believe. Now, the keys to success for this team, I'm calling it the second coming of the French Connection line. I see their top line as being Vincent Lecavalier, Simon Gagne, and Claude Giroux. And the strengths to the team, obviously, their top line is going to have to carry them. They have a solid defense, and they have depth forwards, and they should have some depth scoring. They should have two good solid top lines. Their weaknesses mainly are going to be goaltending and whether they can stay healthy. But I see them. I see no reason why Philly shouldn't make the playoffs. Moving on to Philadelphia's Pennsylvania rivals, the Pittsburgh Penguins. My favorite team, not. I hate the Penguins, but anyway. You gotta ask yourself, can Marc-Andre Fleury bounce back and have a better season than he did last year? And if they make the playoffs, it's mainly a better playoff that he needs to have. The only major addition to the team that I see is they got back Rob Scuderi. Red Wing fans will remember him, as I do, from making that kick save that saved a goal in the 2009 Stanley Cup Final. I've never forgotten it anyway. The keys to the team are the two best players in the world, Crosby and Malkin. They're the strength of the team. The team is built around them. They have a solid defense. But the weaknesses that I see are, can they stay healthy? And, if they stay healthy, I don't see why they wouldn't make the playoffs. They have two capable goalies in Fleury and Volkun. It's just a matter of their goaltending being consistent. And if that happens and if they stay healthy, they should be in the playoffs, no problem. Moving on to the last team in the Metropolitan Division, the Washington Capitals. Now, once again, this is the theme of this division in this video. Can Washington get consistent goaltending from Brain Holby or Holpe, and I know I pronounced that wrong, and Michael Norbert? I don't think they can. Holpe, he's a good goalie, and I really like him, but I don't know whether he can carry the Capitals for a whole season, is what I'm trying to say. They do have some new additions. Mikhail Grabovski, as a guy that follows the Leafs, I love that he went to Washington. I hate the fact that the Leafs got rid of him. But that's another story. And the Capitals also picked up Martin Erat and Jack Hillen in the offseason. Now, Washington's keys to success that I see are obviously their superstar forward, Alexander Ovechkin. He needs to have a similar type of season. Won the Rocket Richard Trophy last year, and I think he needs to repeat that performance if the team is going to be successful, and he just needs to have a better start to his season. And obviously, Ovechkin is the main strength of the team, but they have depth scoring and a solid defense, and they're going to be tough. They have a lot of toughness, and their main weaknesses are goaltending is always a question mark with this team, it seems, and injuries. Can they stay healthy? Like a lot of teams, but they should make the playoffs. I don't see why they wouldn't. So that concludes part 3 of the NHL preseason preview. And if you liked what I had to say, please subscribe. Please like this video. Add it to your favorites. You can follow me on, Twitter at Sledgehead86. Like me on Facebook at Mr. Wheels 86. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you with part 4 very soon.